Hey y'all, welcome to the channel. My name is Sean. This is UCM Pigs, and today, if you couldn't tell from the thumbnail or the title or all the other stuff, I'm putting new bars on my bike. And this is kind of odd because just about 2 weeks ago, I did a 2-year review on my 10-inch Dominator meat hooks that I purchased about 2 years ago from Dominator Industries out in Huntington Beach, California. So, long story short, in the video I mentioned I wish I would have went with 12-inch bars, and after talking with Dominator Industries, they were kind enough to send me a set of 12-inch bars. Now, but I decided to go with one of their all-in-one packages, and basically what that means is exactly what it says, all-in-one. Everything is pretty much done. They do the hard work for you. All the wires, including the throttle by wire or the twist grip sensor, are installed with a Harley Davidson twist grip sensor in the bars. So no more snaking wires, fishing wires, cussing, sweating, and getting covered in lube to get these done. I think we all could agree that is one of the biggest pain points when upgrading your bars on your bike, especially on a full dresser. There's a lot of wires to be run through there for all those thumb controls. So all that's taken care of for you. It's pretty much plug and play. Now, I am going to be replacing my hydraulic lines. My bike is a 2016 Ultra, and I have the hydraulic clutch. Now, before we get started, let me remind you to like, comment, and subscribe. And as always on my channel, if you don't feel like typing words, just leave me an emoji. Let me know you're here. I would greatly appreciate it. So we're going to basically be seeing these together for the first time. But let's go over some of the other stuff that came in the package. So like I said, we got the bars, and they are pre-wired, and I will show you guys what those look like. But I also got, this is a new clutch, hydraulic clutch cable. So this was provided in the kit. Again, it's all in one. They know you're going to need to be extending, and this is going to run the full length of the bike. Back down to the clutch, not too hard, don't let it scare you. And then I have a new brake cable. Like I said, we're going to be replacing that line as well, to include the banjo bolts and the crush washers and all that good stuff. Alright, so we're going to be getting this pool noodle off. Now, I am going to be using a razor knife, but please, I cannot stress this enough. You don't want to dork up your brand new chrome or your brand new powder coat getting it out of the wrapping. So slow down, take a deep breath, be ginger with it, and take off the covering. Alright, so that's our first layer of defense. So as you can see, it's got plastic and another layer of foam in there. So very well protected in shipment. Alright, so we've got everything unwrapped here, and I've done a pretty good inspection of this chrome. Now there'll be a little residue from that inner foam that they had on there. You just wipe it off with some of your cleaner and give it a good inspection, and I'm telling you, this is a perfect chrome dip. I don't feel any rough points, I don't see any runs. All the welds are nice and smooth. You can't even tell it's a weld. It is an absolutely gorgeous job. Now let me point out some of the major difference between these bars and the bars that I'm currently running. Now these are a 12-inch rise, so it's going to give me a little more rise, about 36 inches wide. And the big thing is these are actually a product known as the Big Daddy from Dominator Industry. And what that means is this is a 1.5 inch diameter bar. Nice, fat, meaty meat hooks. If you'll notice, everything does taper down to accept your stock controls, including in the center. It tapers down so it will go into your stock seat for your clamp. Everything is pretty much plug and play. You can see all the wires are pre-run for me. It is absolutely gorgeous. Alright, in order to prep the bike to install new bars, we're going to be removing pretty much the front fairing. To do that, it's pretty simple. I'm not going to go into great detail, but it's super simple. I have my inner fairing rolled forward here. There's a couple other things you're going to have to remove. And again, this is based on your bike. I'm doing this on an Ultra Classic, which is pretty much a street glide fairing. I had to remove my highway light turn signals, and then there's 4 bolts on the inner fairing, top and bottom. Those will need to come out so you can rock it forward. Now this will expose your triple tree, your clamps. So pretty much, just refer to your bike and the things you're going to need to remove to get access to this area. All right, I want to stop here and point something out because this is pretty crucial. When you're removing these thumb controls or these hand controls, you see I've already removed my clutch assembly. clutch cables hanging down here. I put a zip lock on it to keep it from dripping. But when you're getting down to this thumb switch housing, there are 2 bolts on the backside, T25. You're going to loosen those up. They don't come out, they just loosen up just to release it from this front part of the housing. It's pretty much a clamshell. On top here, you have your thumb switch for your odometer. That has to come off first. Now, there is a tiny little spring inside there. I no longer have mine, so mine sometimes just automatically resets. It's not a big game changer, but this pretty much slides off this way. So you're just going to take it and slide it off. I'm a little loose in here. Boom. So you can see it's got channels. It grips onto that inside there. You're going to slide this off first. Then you're going to go ahead and remove the clamshells. So the outer, the front clamshell, and the rear. And that removes your assembly. Set those aside. Now this housing here, this is pretty much just clipped on here. On top, right inside here, there's a little, this clips over like that. You want to be very careful with this. Do not get in here and start monkeying it. There is a hinge down here on the bottom, but you're just pretty much going to push in a little bit and then twist a little bit like that to unhook. Boom. So that comes off, and there's our housing with all of our plugs in the back. So you'll just disconnect all these plugs and remove the housing. Hand grip slips right off. Okay, so I've got the hand controls off. I'll take you around there and show you in a minute, but I've rocked the interfering back forward to show you where the connections are for all your thumb controls and your throttle by wire. So on this bike, the 2016 Ultra Classic, which is street glide fairing, this is the infotainment system, and right underneath it you have your left controls, which is right here, and then your right controls. It has 2 plugs, there and there. This one's a single plug, and then my throttle by wire is right here. I've got it taped up here. That's for the twist grip heaters. I don't have them, so I just kind of taped it up a little bit. That's why it's a little bulkier right there, but that's my throttle by wire cable, and the connection is right here. So I'm going to go ahead and disconnect these connections, and then we'll roll the interfering back forward, and I'll go around and show you what I did with the hand controls, and we'll pull these wires through and we'll be ready to remove the bars. Alright, so now that I got the wires disconnected, I'm going to go ahead and remove my bolts that are holding the bars in place. This is a 1/4 inch Allen, and we'll just be loosening them and then taking them out. And this is your ABS unit here on this year bike. Again, I can't stress enough, this may differ from bike to bike, ABS or not, cable clutch or hydraulic clutch. Here is my brake cable right here, and as you can see, it runs down here. It's going to go along the backbone down into this ABS unit, and it's actually this connection right here. Alright, so I've got my new front brake line installed on the ABS unit. It's right here. It's a little shinier than the other ones. As you can see, the battery's gone as well. I went ahead and removed that battery. So it's just easier to get back from behind to these connections on your ABS sensor. So my new brake line is up here in place. I'm going to start snaking it back down the backbone, secure it, zip tie it in place, and get it ready to receive the new bars, and then we'll move over to the clutch side. So now what we're going to be doing is we're going to be working on the clutch line, which is right here. So it comes from the other side over here, down past the neck, and then it goes down the A-frame, right back there. Along the A-frame, there's clamps. You can see one inside there, along the bottom of the A-frame, and then up here to the clutch or the transmission. And then I'll be running my new clutch cable from here, following along the A-frame again, connecting to all the connections, back up to the neck, into the fairing, and up the other side. Alright y'all, so when removing this stock clutch cable, I noticed a couple things. The first thing was there was a piece of like mesh protectant here. I've removed it because because this section of the cable runs right underneath the exhaust, and it probably needed some added protection from the heat. So I'm going to be transferring that over to the new cable provided to me by Dominator. And then also they added shrink wrap to this upper portion here. So what I did was I measured from basically the transmission connection up to the shrink wrap, and then measured from the banjo down. So I got the section of shrink wrap that I needed, and then I prepped my factory or my Dominator cable so that way I would have the added protection that Harley Davidson saw fit to put on there. So you can see there's the mesh heat shield on the lower half, and then my shrink wrap on the upper half just to protect it when it's coming in around the neck and through the fairing, to keep it from chafing and stuff like that. All right, so now that I've got the cables all ran, I'm going to go ahead and get the bars in place, and this is just going to be a loose set in place. I'm just going to set them on there, bolt them on, not tighten them fully, but just get the bars pretty much in place. And we'll just get the bolt started, and that'll be it. And we'll go on to the next piece, which will be start putting stuff together around it. All right, so now I've got the tank and the seat back on. Got the inner fairing rolled back into position. The bars are just snug. I can still move them. But I want to get them set now to my position. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to try to get in a comfortable riding position and just place my hands about where I want them. So, I mean, they're pretty much there. I'm looking down at the connection, making sure that I'm, centered in there, and it is centered in there. So I'm thinking about right here is a pretty comfortable position for me. My arms are pretty much straight out in front of me. Don't feel like I'm reaching too forward. I do have a backrest, so sometimes I do have a tendency to slouch. As you ride for longer distances, you tend to slouch. So just kind of taking that into consideration, I might just roll them back just a little bit, and about right there. So I'm going to go ahead and roll this inner fairing forward. We're going to tighten down these 4 bolts to torque spec. We're going to go around back. We're going to get all of our connections plugged in and start working on the hand controls. All right, so now that I've got my bars positioned and I've got everything tightened down up there to torque spec, I'm going to go ahead and make my connections. So again, these were all pre-wired for me. This is my left-hand side. Remember, it's the single one. The right hand is the double one. So it is going to plug in right here. So that plugs in right there, and then this one plugs in right here. Make sure we get a snap. Yep. And then the last connection we're going to make is our throttle by wire, or our twist grip sensor. So if you notice, I do have a heated grip wire, which I do not have heated grip, so I won't be connecting that. And this is our throttle by wire connection, and it connects right here on that little, it's got orange harness right there, and we're just going to plug it in and make our connection. I'm going to start here on the throttle side, and you see here we've got our wires for our thumb controls. And this is our thumb control housing here, so there's 2 plugs, and we're going to start by plugging the larger of the 2 in. Sure it snaps in place, and then the smaller of the 2. And then you're just going to kind of snake this wire back along here. Oh, that came unplugged. So it kind of lays down inside the housing. It's got a little channel in there. Takes a little manipulating. And then this, just like when I showed you on removing, it's just a snap. It snaps in there and grabs, and we have that thumb control in place. And we'll go ahead and get the twist grip in place as well. So mine has a little pink dot on top telling me which way, and that's locked in right there. Okay, so that gives me my spacing here now for my brake lever. And I'm just doing everything hand tight right now. You have a notch here, and then it corresponds with the notch on your brake lever, so you want to make sure you get that set in spot, set in place there. go. So our next connection to be made is going to be our brake line. Yeah, I'm wearing my bathing suit. It's screaming hot here today, so been taking pool breaks. And we're going to be using the provided bolt for our banjo fitting and 2 copper washers provided by Dominator. Now, you're going to be putting a copper washer on either side of this banjo. So basically one between the banjo and the master cylinder, and the banjo and the bolt washer on the bolt. And then we'll run it through the banjo. And then on the other side. Get this in place and get it started with our fingers. Now, we don't want to over tighten this. We're dealing with soft fittings here. You just want to get it tight enough so you're not going to leak. And this is a 14mm bolt. I did leave my outer fairing off and my inner fairing still loose, so that way I can kind of snake this brake line so I don't have a whole bunch of excess brake line on this side. I want everything nice and clean inside the fairing. So we'll go ahead and tighten this connection up. Here on the clutch side, I've gone ahead and put the inner part of the thumb switches in there. I've installed them in there, and the reason is it's finicky. So you have a plug, you have to run the wire in a channel and kind of just work this thing around until you get it to clip in the back. It would have been several minutes of very boring YouTube if I would have got myself doing that. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the clamshell housing on here. I've already got the grip in place because the clamshell is going to go around the grip. Keeping in mind we have this little thumb selector here for our trip meter. That'll have to feed through this hole right here. So we'll get the front piece on and then kind of just work the one with the thumb thing on there. Perfect. And we'll tighten this up with a T27 Torx, or at least get it finger tight. Alright, so those are somewhat snug. We'll go ahead and put this thumb switch selector in place for our trip meter. And it just pretty much slides on here. There we go. Good to go. And just like the brake, you have a notch back here, or a little button that the clutch depresses on the back of the housing. You want to make sure that's laying in there. Alright, so everything's nice and tight. We'll go ahead and get our clutch cable connected. Alright, so just like on the brake side, we've got the provided banjo nut to go in the back of the banjo and 2 brass washers. So just like before, we're going to put 1 washer on first to go in front of the banjo, and 1 that goes between the banjo and the master cylinder. So that's it. I've got both of my forward controls set up. I'm going to go ahead and pull the fairing forward, start getting the fairing installed, get the mirrors on, and show you guys the end result. Alright y'all, so that is it. We've got the bars installed. I hope you guys found this informative. If you are thinking about bars, I would like to encourage you to go over to Dominator Industries, check out what they've got to offer. This is my second set. The first set I ran for about 2 years, and I'm super pleased with their product. And be sure, if you decide to go with Dominator, to use my coupon code, and that's UCMPIGS. It will save you 10% on your bars and get you free shipping. Now, one thing I did not record was the bleeding of the brake and clutch system. I've got a video on that. I'll put a link in here if you guys like to go check that out. Pretty easy process. So that's it for this week. Like I said, I hope you guys enjoyed, and until we talk again, you guys be careful. You guys be safe. Always keep your shiny side up, and we'll talk to you next time.